So one drawing exercise I'm going to give you is to draw upside down. And when we draw upside down, basically we're looking at something from a new perspective. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by saying, I have to draw this entire person or this entire landscape, when we turn the image upside down, we see it in a different way. We start to look at space relationships between lines a little bit differently. We also start to see the curve of a line maybe a little bit differently. So instead of thinking about the subject of what it actually is that we're drawing, instead we're breaking it down into the shapes and the forms and the lines really that exist there. And I think the best way to show you this is to just do it myself. So let's take a look at what it means to draw upside down. That's strange. So I have a whole folder on Google Drive that I've shared with you with all types of images that are very simple line drawings. And what you'll do is you'll choose them, save them onto your iPad, and have them up on your screen like this. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna flip it upside down. And the idea of looking at something upside down is that this is a complicated image. We might get overwhelmed by saying, oh, how am I gonna make the fold of this flower? Or how am I gonna show that this is overlapping back into space? But if I flip it upside down, what I start to do is I look at it from a different perspective. Instead, I'm looking at the lines and the spatial relationships. So, how far is this line from this line? How much larger is this one from this one? How close does this get to the edge of the page? How close do these lines get to the edge of the page? When do I start to see this line overlap? Is it about the middle? Is it about a third? And so I start to make all these measurements. And that's what we do when we're drawing. We're trying to train ourselves to think less about this subject as is, like I'm drawing a flower or I'm drawing an apple. And instead, we're looking at the spatial relationships. We're looking at the lines. We're looking at it for its purest elements. So let's get started. I'm going to be at the start of the page here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover up some of the, this is kind of hard on my cell phone, but I could do it. I'm going to start to cover up some of this bottom stuff so I could just mainly focus here. And then what I'll do is I'll just peek through and add more as I go. So let's get started. What I like to do is I like to think about the middle to help me mark off the page. So about the middle is where I see this curve coming in. I see these two little lines. I see this line flow. And it's okay for your lines to be kind of shaky to start. This is our first contour line, which means this is our first solid line coming from something very gestural that we left with in the last project. So it's not perfect, right? We see some of our lines are a little bit messy. Some of my lines are shaky because it's the first thing in the morning that I'm doing. But what it is it's not about how beautiful your final product is. What it really is about is that activity that you're doing while you're looking at these lines and those spatial relationships that I talked about. Drawing upside down may feel uncomfortable and really push you outside of your normal drawing habits, but it really starts to move us into the direction to look at our subjects from a different perspective and really break down the essential components of line. So get out of that comfort zone and get into that sketchbook. I can't wait to see what you guys make.